My name is Leslee Stradford, and I live in Sag Harbor. So I've just become familiar with Parrish over the last year and a half. I visited a couple of times, and then I was pleased to find that I had been selected to participate in the Artists Choose Parrish. I was sent the lists of artists, some of who I was really already familiar with, and some of whom I was not. And I found Motherwell's work, as well as a couple of other artists who I was familiar with, but I thought that his inspiration was sort of where my momentum came when I was in undergraduate school. And I always loved his work. His ability to be able to create things sort of spontaneously, and yet very simply, and have a lot of impact in the work without being figurative. Earlier on, I started working with things that were typically related to women, Q-tips and sponges and, things like that. For the larger works, I have kind of used the same things. I've used mops, and I've used poured, mixing the paint and so that it's poured in squeeze bottles like hair dye or something like that. And then, all different kinds of palette knives of one shape or another to create different kinds of strokes and thicknesses. I tend to water down, or not water down, but in this case, turpentine, thinning it out so that it becomes very layered. So I began doing, kind of one thing, and then it sort of takes over and creates itself. Generally speaking, I work on one work until it's completed. In some cases, I don't think about what it is that I'm going to do prior to doing it, but then some things will come back to me as I'm thinking about my work, and it just sort of creates itself. It's sort of like, sort of a spirit moving you. And I tend to be more interested in black and white imagery. Yeah, I think it's, very dynamic. It makes a bold statement. I like color too, but I don't use it as often now at the moment. That may change, but I once heard someone say, if you can master black and white and shades of gray, you can do anything in color. I started working with all these different colors of black, and so I didn't realize that there were so many different colors of black. And how they change dramatically when they're applied. And so most of them are, as a matter of fact, there were paints that were called black, but they weren't black at all. And so I used some of those occasionally, but it gave me the opportunity to see how diverse both black and whites can be, and how they manage to work together. I've also been interested in different other artists' works, like Solange, who just passed recently, and how he was the master of black, and so that sort of intrigued me this year. I started working on them when I had a large enough studio to be able to create larger works, but most of my works are very similar in nature to these that I have. Some were inspired just through, I guess, just letting the moment sort of flow, without spontaneous, without any forethought of what it was going to be like or what it was that I was looking for. Just the opportunity to be able to create these works. And then, I would find things that sort of surprised me, how it related to photographs I had seen in the past, but I wasn't really conscious of the fact that that was on my mind when I was creating the works. I think this is the first time I've seen anybody open up their collection to artists who are here to choose works that reflect what they're doing or encourage them or inspire them. And there are other works that I saw that I kind of had an interest in, but it was nice to be able to see the archives that you have and all of the various kinds of work that are included in your collection. And I think it makes it really very vibrant for the other artists as well, to be able to see that their work has some intonation of other artists' works who they take, that they have sort of a reflection of in their work, that inspiration that comes from that. It seems to me that you're really reaching out to the community, and you have such a vibrant artistic community here that it just works. There's so many artists here, and there's so many really good artists here, very different than other places that I've been. And when you begin to take a look at artists' work, some of them begin to look very similar to each other. There isn't a real distinction between one artist's work and another. But here I found that there's a certain kind of linkage that each artist sort of has, and they use that, and you can recognize their work when you see it. Just like Motherwell's work, or Jackson Pollock's work, or there's a thing about it that differentiates it from a lot of the other artists' work that I've seen. I think that the museum is great. It's very welcoming. The rooms, the various exhibition spaces are great, and it gives everybody, young and old, an opportunity to see things that they can relate to. And I'm pleased to be in the show with such other illuminators.